All right, so let's talk about your first like little bit into MMA. How did you start off doing MMA, and how did you go pro? Like, how did the process end up happening?
Well, I mean, I've been in martial arts since I was 4 years old, so about 22 and a half years. I'm gonna be a little child and say half, but about 22 and a half years. And yeah, I started off karate and eventually found MMA when I was 16. When I was in high school, was just one of my teammates, my wrestling teammates ended up doing it. And, he was just kind of that, that cocky wrestler, but that was naturally really, really good as a freshman. And I'm like, man, how is this guy so good? Eventually, I went to his MMA gym, and I've been there ever since. Um, but for me, that wasn't really the ultimate goal. I always wanted to be a hero growing up, and that's why I started martial arts. My parents saw me as the energetic kid, and I didn't have the best role models. And some of my role models were like Dragon Ball Z, which is actually today's national or world like Goku Day.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and then two was like Power Rangers, the White Ranger Tommy Oliver, which later on in my life ended up sponsoring me in my amateur career, which is awesome.
that's
But
crazy.
yeah, man, I ended up turning pro after being the first ever two-time world champion, being highlighted as like a pioneer in amateur MMA and doing all these things. Honestly, I was just doing what my coach told me. It wasn't like, oh, I was trying to achieve these certain things to get the achievements or do this or do that. I was just literally, oh, coach, you want me to do this? All right, yeah, cool. All right, let's go do it. So it wasn't anything planned. Like graduating college and doing all these things. Honestly, it was just one of those things that just kind of happened. But I ended up turning pro, and because of my achievements as an amateur, um, I ended up in a sense being compared to like Vasily Lomachenko being moved into MMA. It's like no one's ever had as many fights as I've had. Even though it was only 26 fights in MMA, I had countless in MMA or kickboxing, Muay Thai, judo, jiu-jitsu, boxing, definitely wrestling, hundreds in wrestling. So, um, I had just hundreds and hundreds of matches and multiple times experience. So by the time I got to a professional, I got moved up. Instead of going to a local promotion, I ended up going to, in a sense, the semi-pro promotion, the minor leagues right before the major leagues, which was Titan FC. My second fight, I fought a guy who had 16 pro fights. Third fight, I fought for Tim Elliott's vacant title, and then I defended it, then bumped up, defended that one, then bumped back down, and eventually went to the UFC, and now I'm in Brave. It's it's really a crazy adventure, but man, I'm doing a lot of things because of it. It's given me a lot of opportunity.
That's crazy, man. I mean, so let's talk about the UFC. How long were you in the UFC?
Let's see. My first fight was June 1st, so if we want to say I signed the contract in May, so like mid, not even late May, because it was only like a 9 day notice. So late May to technically, I think technically November is when I was released. So I had two fights in 45 days,
Mm-hmm.
which is extremely fast.
Yeah,
And given I was given ultimatums and I pretty much had no choice, and that's a whole another story. But yeah, 45 days for me. I had 54 pounds to cut. Ended up taking my first loss in my last UFC fight. And yeah, so be it. The things happened, and I ended up being one of the biggest free agents in history, and being signed to Brave Combat Federation. That's where I'm at now. I got my first win a little over 2 weeks ago, and it's just pushing forward from here.